Please, believers will go to hell because of deception. Unbelievers will go to hell because of deception. People will go to hell because of deception. People are not going to hell because of their sin, actually. They are going to hell because of they have been deceived. Because the solution to sin is already available, which is Christ Jesus, which is the grace of God. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you have a problem, sin is like this. Somebody is sick, terminal disease. Okay, let me tell you a story. Maybe that will help you better to understand. We had a lawyer in Nigeria that was very, very powerful and influential. He was a man of truth and justice. Every government feared him. A man of truth and justice. A man of truth and justice. In fact, they tried, they treated him with contempt, a lot of things. Even junior lawyers that he trained were made senior advocates of Nigeria, but him, he was not, just to ridicule him. So people now start calling him the senior advocate of the masses. And they told him, don't worry, you don't need to collect that title. You are the senior advocate of the masses. Why the rest lawyers are SAN, senior advocate of Nigeria. You are SAM, senior advocate of the masses. He became old, doing a lot of stuff. But he caught a disease at one point in life without knowing. Then our medical facilities were very bad. He was against VIP flying out of the country for treatment. And he was saying that the government should fix our hospitals so they don't need to travel out of Nigeria for treatment. So he was an advocate for that. So the doctors that were treating him wrongly diagnosed what was his problem. He was having a heart disease, a lungs disease that was developing. But they kept saying this as pneumonia. And that is why even in Kenya, when I see people say they have pneumonia, and yet your pneumonia is killing you, it's not pneumonia. Pneumonia does not kill. I had pneumonia as a child. It does not kill. It is heart disease, disease of the lungs, sometimes cancer of the lungs, that people are seeing, that doctors are seeing as pneumonia. Any pneumonia you hear kill somebody, it's not pneumonia that killed the person. It's cancer of the lungs. But because the medical facilities in Africa are very poor, they cannot detect that disease, especially at its beginning phase. So that was his problem. He would go to the hospital, pneumonia, they will be admitted, they will put him, as if he's passing out, they put him all these things on the nose, he will survive. And it continued like that until it got to a point that his family people have to fly him out of the country. Is it in Germany or the US? They now discovered that it was a cancer of the lungs, and it has been there for a long time, for years. That's what they were calling pneumonia. And sadly speaking, he didn't make it. He died. That is how sin is. Sin is there. The so-called grace, which is deception, is calling it weakness. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. The grace of God covers you. You are having cancer of the lungs. They say grace of God covers you. You are having a terrible life that would dump you in hell. They say the grace of God covers you. So that is why it is when people now die, they now realize they were deceived. Do you understand me? That is how the deception of sin is the most dangerous deception. The deception of sin. Because grace is a master over sin. It's a master over sin. Grace exposes sin to expunge it from us. Grace exposes sin. It destroys the deception of sin. It destroys the practice of sin. It destroys the deception of sin. We practice sin because of deception of sin. If there's no deception of sin, there will be no living in sin. Do you understand my point? And deception of sin is so strong that it can deceive each and every one of us. So it's a deception of sin that promotes the practice of sin. So grace exposes the deception of sin in order to kill the practice. Are you understanding me? So part of the deception of sin, especially in churches like this, some of us growing, have encountered such churches. It will tell you, somebody who is brazenly living in sin, they will tell you, leave him in the hands of grace. Grace will sort him out. How? That is deception. Rather, teach the person grace and truth. And when grace and truth is taught, the person will now know that what they are doing is wrong. What they are doing will dump them in hell. What they are doing, they need to stop doing it. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So may we not fall under the deception of sin, because it's the greatest deception. Grace, saving grace, frees us from the deception of sin. It tells you you are dead. You are a dead man. What did God tell Abimelech when he carried the wife of Isaac? Sorry, Abraham. The wife of Abraham. It told the man, you are a dead man. That's what grace talk. When grace meets you in sin, you are a dead man. You are a dead woman. But when deception meets you in sin, it doesn't tell you anything. It only shows you the pleasure. Deception shows you the pleasure. Grace shows you the penalty. Are you understanding me? Grace shows you what? The penalty. Deception shows you what? The pleasure. So God met Abraham, chapter 20 of Genesis, and he said, Abimelech, he said, you are a dead man, carry another person's wife. You are a dead man. His wife was already barren. Only God knows how many months Sarah was in Abimelech's palace. Because barrenness is not something you know after 1 month. You get my point? The Bible says all the wives of the king became barren because he carried Sarah into the palace. Maybe she was there for 6 months, maybe 1 year. Before the king now began to realize that all his wives had become barren, they were no longer bearing children. He said, what's happening here? He now began to pray. And God met him and said, you are a dead man. Grace, when he meets you in sin, he will say, you are a dead man. You are gone. Your own is finished. Saving grace. Because the first mission of saving grace is to save us from the penalty of sin, both in time and eternity. There's penalty of sin in time, and there's penalty of sin in eternity. The one in time is what sin does to you. The one in eternity is what God does to you. So penalty in eternity is God's judgment. Penalty is in time, is the consequence of sin, or what sin itself does to us. Are you understanding me? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Saving grace. So you must understand saving grace. So saving grace, I told you to write it, which I know you have it there, is a measure that saves the believer from what? From the penalty, practice, and what? Presence. When would the believer be saved from the presence of sin? At death. At death. We cannot be saved from the presence of sin while we are alive. Sin will keep living in us while we are alive. But saving grace is there to help us not to live in sin. That is living in us. But when we fulfill our days, we now die. Saving grace will now come to save us from the presence of sin. So saving grace covers a lifetime. It covers a lifetime. Saves you from the penalty, saves you from the practice, and saves you from the presence. So under the school of saving grace, we can say we are saved, we are being saved, we shall be saved. Do you understand? So we are saved by grace, we are being saved by grace, we shall be saved by grace. Say again, we are saved by grace, we are being saved by grace, we shall be saved by grace. That is saving grace for you. It has 3 departments. So I shared the story of it. You will not enjoy the second aspect I want to show you. So the first manifestation of saving grace is between our relationship with sin. It gives us victory over sin. and destroys our intimacy with sin. Saving grace. It gives us victory over sin and destroys our intimacy. It takes away your friendship with sin. It takes away your friendship. Your friendship. It makes sure you don't maintain friendship with sin. You don't maintain friendship with the world. Because friendship with the world is what? Enmity with God. Saving grace is the one that makes sure that friendship. In fact, when saving grace, there was a story of somebody who also he had a parent that was praying for him like that. And whenever I come back from holidays, he's always everywhere in the town. He doesn't stay at home. Drinking, yeah, carrying women, yeah, smoking, yeah, whatever. And the mother is always crying, praying and crying. So there was this day, I think that was the day of his salvation. They went, and he has carried the girlfriends, 2-3 girls, and they went with the rest of the prodigal friends, and they sat on the table. Immediately, something just happened. He removed his hands from the girls. He was holding her, he removed his hands and became like this. The other one put hand. So he removed the hand and kept. The other one bring her, he removed. They asked him, "Are you okay?" He said, "Excuse me, I don't want any disturbance here." And they brought the alcohol. He pushed. Before they see, tears started dropping from his eyes. And one of the girls touched him like this and said, "Are you okay?" He said, "I'm fine." "Remove your filthy hands." He said, "My hand is not filthy." When saving grace touched you, immediately he got off from there and went home. And went and entered his room and lied down. So the mother didn't even know what was happening. By morning, the mother told him, "Come and meet a drunken boy." When the mother opened the door, he met her son on the knees, crying out to God for mercy. When saving grace comes, you see the penalty of your sins and you are convicted of it. Conviction. So conviction is a child of saving grace. Convict you of judgment, convict you of righteousness, and convict you of sin. It's saving grace that does that. That's why I said, how you know it is at work in your life is in the area of your relationship with sin. If you find out that you are obtaining dominion over sin, you are no longer living under the power of sin, under the practice of sin, then saving grace is at work. If your taste for sin is killed, saving grace is at work. If the distance between you and sin have been established, saving grace is at work. If your friendship with this world have been killed, saving grace is at work. If you can no longer find yourself in your old ways, saving grace is at work. I told you of two sex partners who went to church on Christmas Day. It happened in Calabar in the early 80s. Sorry, late 70s. Yeah, early 81, 82. So they went for Christmas service. When the pastor was through, two of them could not go back home to the very home they came from. The girl had to be taken to the pastor's home, with the pastor's wife take her home. Even because she came nude, almost nude. So when the saving grace hit her in the service, she began to collect. She pleaded for wrappers. Women would tie double wrappers for Christmas service. Collected one, they cover her. She cried all through the service, gave her life to Christ. She could not follow the man. She followed the pastor home. The man himself also never wanted the woman to follow him because he also repented. He went home, gathered all the music of the worldly, burnt all of them, removed all the photos of naked women, and remove everything, tear everything down. The woman, they have to go and follow. They have to follow the man, carry the woman's bag because she came from somewhere. That is saving grace. Are you understanding me? That is what